Okay, let's talk about how to draw feet. The first thing you recognize is that the foot is a wedge shape, like this. So think doorstop, that from the side looks like this. And the foot can be divided into three distinct areas. So 1/3 is occupied by the heel, 1/3 is occupied by the bones of the foot, and then 1/3 is occupied by your toes. That look like this. So right now we're dealing with the inside of the foot, the medial aspect. So we have an arch here that looks like this. And then your medial malleolus is going to run slightly below the top of the foot and is going to have this kind of blocky shape, like this. The foot on the lateral aspect, on the outside, can also be divided into three spots, like this. Here is your heel, like this. In this case, we have some muscles running down the side, so the foot on the outside is going to appear flat, like this. And then your toes are going to start at that third point, like this, and extend out, 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 and here is your toe. The lateral malleolus, which is created by the fibula, runs a little bit lower, slightly above, I would say, the ball of the big toe, right here, and it has a triangular shape. Sorry for the noise, guys. A lot going on today. Trash trucks, sirens, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so here are the basic shapes we're looking for. Now, easy enough from the side, but when we start dealing with 3/4 view, front view, things get a little bit complicated. So the first step is to always determine what is the direction of our doorstop shape. So it might run this way, like this. If we're seeing it going backwards, sometimes that doorstop might run, let's say, this way, like this. So that's a foot going back in space. If we're seeing the sole of the foot, sometimes you might have something that looks like this, running this way, like this. So it all begins by looking at clues and trying to determine what is the orientation of our wedge shape. So let's take a look at some feet, and let's try drawing them by breaking them down into simple shapes. Oh, and by the way, since we're breaking things down into simple shapes, when you're dealing with the toes, you're going to use the same method as used for the fingers. So we're going to draw the first knuckle of the toe, then a cylinder for the first length, a sphere for the second knuckle, and then a tapering cone for the tip of the toes. And as with the fingers, the top of the toes is relatively flat, and the bottoms have some padding to them, like this. Okay, so let's find some feet to draw and see what this looks like in actual practice. Alright, I've got my first foot in front of me. It is in slightly projected kind of 3/4 viewpoint. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the angle from the heel to the big toe to help me determine what the shape of the wedge is. I'm also looking for the top of the foot here to help me determine what the angle of the wedge is. So look for clues. I would say mainly this clue is going to be really, really helpful. Okay, so we're going to start off by drawing the wedge. Running this way, running like this. Our foot is angled a little bit. Running like this, running this way, and then running down like that. Okay, now we can start breaking down the foot into simple shapes. We have a sphere here, like this, which transitions into the bones of the feet here, and then at about the third point here, the 1/3 mark, we have the ball of the big toe, like this. And then you can see that out of the ball of the big toe we have the first length of the big toe. We have our second knuckle. Then we have a tapering, kind of a cone shape for the tip. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for all of the other toes. So here's the first knuckle going down. Now this is if I'm drawing a foot portrait. So if I'm doing a close-up of a foot, then I'll take the additional step of breaking down the individual toes. Lucky for us, the toes mostly move in unison. The only one that's independent is the big toe, for the most part. So you're not going to get some kind of situation where all the different toes are going all different directions, for the most part. Okay, so once I've got the basic shape established, now I can start. Let's add a little bit of the ankle here. It's not going that direction, is it? No, it's going more this way, like this. When you're drawing anything in foreshortening, particularly feet, pay attention to what is sitting in front of what. So we have the Achilles tendon going in, and then we have the calcaneus going behind it a little bit. Then the calcaneus comes forward and then goes behind the bones of the foot here. There's overlap here, like this. And then the bones of the foot go underneath the ball of the big toe, like this. And then the first length of the big toe comes out from the ball of the big toe. We're paying very, very close attention to what is sitting in front of what. So the first length is going underneath, behind the second knuckle. And then here is the tip of the toe, running this way. Okay, the top of the toes are obviously bony, tendinous. Again, my apologies for noise. This is why I almost always film at night. Alright. Okay, and then we can carve into the shape a little bit to get the upper arch of the foot. We've got some tarsal bones coming out, sticking out a little bit, going this way, and then I can see a little bit of the lateral malleolus back here, like this. Okay, just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to indicate the tendon of the hallucis longus. You can see a little bit this line actually right here. This way, that is the tendon of the tibialis anterior. I can't see that much of the medial malleolus here. It's sort of lost, hidden in the shadows. Just for the sake of clarity, I'm indicating the light break here, so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, so there is our first foot. Let's try one that's perhaps a little bit more complicated, something that's a little bit more foreshortened. Let's give that a shot. Let's see, okay. Okay, so this is really common. We have a figure that is facing us and the feet are facing directly towards us. This could be a struggle sometimes, right? When you have a form that is extremely foreshortened. Again, drawing that wedge shape really, really does help. So in this case, which foot should we draw? Let's draw the left foot. Here's the top of the wedge. It's going down this way. It's fanning out a little bit, like this, and I can see ever so slightly the inside corner of the foot like this. Okay, so here is our calcaneus. We've got the bones of the foot here running this way. Then we have the ball of the big toe, which is set back like this. And then let's break down the sphere for the first knuckle, the first length, a sphere for the second knuckle, and our second length running this way. Now I'm adjusting these shapes to reflect what's actually there. Again, you don't always have to break things down in such detail, only when you're doing a foot portrait, right? A study of a foot. If the foot is really far away, then it could be broken down just into a simple cylinder like this. However, you just want to make sure that you're drawing the separation between the lengths and the knuckles, and that you're indicating the fact that the foot has a bony structure to it. Otherwise, you're going to have feet that look like jelly, which is a mistake. Okay, now that I've got my basic shapes, now I can start carving in. In this kind of foreshortened situation, you want to really pay attention to what is sitting in front of what. So first of all, we have the medial malleolus. It goes in, and then coming out from behind, we have our, I wouldn't say Achilles tendon, but the heel, right? That's going to be the furthest thing away. It goes in and disappears behind the bones of the foot, which come out, come forward. I'm going to emphasize this line. In any kind of complicated foreshortening, you need to emphasize the line quality. You need to emphasize what is sitting in front of what. So we've got the bone here sitting in front. I'm going to make the line darker, sharper, stronger as it comes forward. So we've got our first knuckle here, and then the first length comes out from inside the first knuckle. And then that disappears behind the second knuckle. And here is our second length, which is going to have the strongest line quality to it. Again, even in a shape like this, I'm emphasizing the fact that this, the first length, is going behind the second knuckle. That the second length comes out from in front, pushes forward from the second knuckle. Even when you're doing a small drawing like this, a quick drawing, you want to make sure that you emphasize the difference between the lengths and the knuckles and are very clear about the overlaps. Okay. Then we have the foot kind of fanning out here like this. This goes in, and then this comes out in front a little bit, going this way, like this. And then here we have the lateral malleolus, which disappears behind this shape, like that. I'm going to make a darker line here, just to emphasize the bony nature of the ankle bones here. Okay, let's try one more foot where we can see the sole. This one's a little bit tricky, but if we break it down to simple steps, it can become much more digestible. So again, we're looking for a wedge shape that looks like this. And the ankle is going back this way. Here's our wedge shape. And again, break it down into simple shapes. So we've got the wedge shape. Here is the heel. Here are the bones of the foot. And then the ball of the big toe is going to sit at the 1/3 mark here. And then basically we're going from the ball of the big toe to the pad of the big toe here. Sometimes you can see a little bit of the length in between. We can see that on the little toes. But essentially what we're seeing is the first length and then the pad of the toe. So first length and then the pad of the toe. This is simplification. I'm going to go back in and improve the line quality a little bit or make the line quality more specific. Right? I'm still breaking things down into simple shapes. Okay, now we can start going in and paying close attention to the overlaps. So we have the soleus going in, turning into Achilles tendon, which is this, which is going behind the heel, going this way, which is going in a little bit, and then this is coming out, and then we have the ball of the big toe going in this way, like this, and then things are coming forward slightly, so I'm going to emphasize the line quality, make the lines a little bit thicker here. Second toe sometimes is a little bit longer than the big toe. Depends on the person. But in that case, in this case, that's what's happening. It's carving into the shape a little bit. We have a little bit of the lateral malleolus here, running this way. Not a sharp line. We're going to use a value to indicate it. A little coarse shadow running through here that I can indicate. Okay, so that is the foot from the bottom viewpoint where you can see the sole. Again, as with the hand, where the first step is to figure out the orientation of this kind of flattened square box, the first step in a foot is to figure out the orientation of your wedge shapes. Practice that at the beginning. Draw a bunch of feet where you're just breaking down the shape. Okay, here's a wedge shape, it's going this way, running like this, or tilting a little more down, and then break it down into your three components. Your heel, the bones of the foot, which run this way, the ball of the big toe, the first length, second length, going this way. And then start carving into it, getting more specific about the line quality. Practice, 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 and then little by little your feet are going to look more feet-like.